Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Dr. Bhasha Mukherjee. I'm a GP and media doctor. If you haven't seen any of my content before, go check out my social media and also my YouTube channel. I love making content on health topics. Let's get straight into it. Today we're covering yet another health topic, and that is hair loss. I've talked about hair loss so much, and we're specifically focusing on my experience with SMP, which is scalp micropigmentation. Now, you might argue that scalp micropigmentation isn't exactly a health topic, but hair loss is. Hair loss can happen from genuine health problems like postpartum hair loss, thyroid issues, autoimmune issues, and anemia, vitamin deficiencies, and various other factors, including insulin resistance, which is something that I talk about quite a lot on my channel also. And hair loss really impacts people. It impacts women, men, it impacts their mental health, their self-image, lots of different factors. It did the same for me. I experienced hair loss as well in my 20s. I had to have a hair transplant surgery before I reached 30. And that's just the reality that we live in right now, right? The environment is messed up. The water quality is terrible. There's pollution everywhere. We're stressed out. We're eating junk food. We're eating unhealthy food, whether we like to or not. That's just the life that we are dealt at the moment. However, there is a solution for people who have had hair loss as a result of many of these controllable and uncontrollable factors, and SMP is one of them. Why did I decide to get scalp micropigmentation? Now, I personally have had hair transplant. I had one before 30, and that's a whole other story. I haven't posted my journey on that yet, but I have to tell you that even after hair transplant, there is a huge waiting time for the transplanted hair to show up. And even when the hair transplant has taken and grown, there still can be some patchiness because it's hair, it's your own body. It can react to your own transplanted hair in a way. And this is why even places that do hair transplants, they can't really provide a guarantee. It can take up to 2 years for you to see the true effects of your hair transplant. So I did personally notice there was some patchiness, there were some areas which were really, really difficult to grow the hair back, especially the parting areas and essentially the crown area. The crown and this part of my hair still continues to be one of those areas which is still very sparse, and I'm still waiting for hair growth. And this is where I waited a whole year and a half before I decided that I wanted to get scalp micropigmentation. It just adds that extra bit of aesthetic beauty and aesthetic completeness that just makes the hair look more fuller. And I've got quite dark hair and light skin, which means the contrast is higher, and it just means that your scalp and your hairline just looks that little bit extra sparse. Now, I have a lot of hair, don't get me wrong, but it's just the appearance of emptiness at the top, and that's where scalp micropigmentation comes in and creates the illusion of more fullness with more darkening of the scalp essentially. What is scalp micropigmentation? A lot of people think that scalp micropigmentation is exactly like a tattoo. That's not the case. It's a little bit more superficial, and actually there is a lot of skill involved with scalp micropigmentation as compared to a tattoo. It needs to look natural, it can't look fake. The artist has to blend it into your hair, and they have to do it whilst being very careful not to damage any of your hair follicles. And bear in mind, if you've had some sort of procedure like a hair transplant already, there's a lot of scar tissue there. Scar tissue is more difficult to work with and tattoo on top of, and on top of that there is just that extra risk of essentially causing more damage to the scalp if you're not careful, if you don't go to the right person. But the idea of micropigmentation versus a simple tattoo is that it's supposed to look more natural, and it slowly fades into your scalp, and it doesn't look artificial as a tattoo essentially. One of the other ways that scalp micropigmentation does actually help, especially post-transplant, is that it stimulates the scalp itself. The micro-injury that is caused to the scalp tissue promotes collagen production, it promotes more blood flow to the scalp, and that can have an indirect effect on hair growth and essentially pulling more nutrients to your scalp and to your hairline and potentially boosting hair growth in that indirect way. It works in a similar way to how microneedling does a similar job of stimulating blood flow or growth factors in your scalp. Why did I choose to have it in Turkey? Now, it's very interesting because I have had quite a few different procedures done in Turkey and abroad over the UK. And one of the reasons is cost. But the other reason is that I just don't believe in the xenophobia that we have towards practitioners abroad. The same risk profile can be had in this country also. I was on holiday, I was having a good time. I decided on a whim I wanted to have the procedure done in Turkey whilst I was there. I have had a fantastic time with Turkish practitioners in the past. I have had veneers done in Turkey before. I've had my actual transplant done in Turkey before. And my transplant doctor, my transplant surgeon, suggested me this particular individual, and I trusted them based on their recommendation. I trusted them with my hair, and it was one of the most scary things I'd ever done in my life. So that was purely the reason for me to go with Turkey, and honestly, no regrets. Also, I want to say that Turkish people are just so lovely when you compare them to Brits. But generally speaking, every time I've had a procedure done abroad, I've noticed people are so much kinder. What was the procedure like? The procedure lasted at least 2 hours, I would say, probably more in the ballpark of 2.5 hours. It was painful at times. I did have numbing cream on my scalp. I've had scalp PRP done before, and it was no more painful than scalp PRP, and it was way less painful than when I had my hair transplant procedure. So when I compare with that, this was nothing. And having experienced that sort of, PRP needles in my scalp sensation before, I feel like I knew what to expect, so I was less shocked by the feeling. It does feel different. I've never had a tattoo before, so I can't really say if it feels like an actual tattoo, but it's the same sort of buzzing sensation of the tattoo or the ink sort of being transferred, and that is painful in certain parts of the scalp and less so in other parts of the scalp. What were the results like? Well, the results are, as you can see, very natural looking. So initially it was a lot darker. For the first 4 days, I wasn't allowed to wash my hair after getting the procedure done. And I must say that it did look a little bit unnatural, and especially when I was scratching, there was a lot of ink coming off in my nails and things like that. But that settled down after I took my shower and then took subsequent showers. As the ink sort of settled into my scalp, it looked much more natural as time went on. There are still some areas I feel like the ink hasn't taken so well, and I feel like it's more visible when a picture is taken of me from a distance or from top or something like that. I'll include some pictures on here. And I noticed that I'm a little bit more critical of it because I have just a laser sharp focus on that area. I genuinely think that most people's hairlines probably look exactly like this. And I definitely don't think it's a downgrade from before, because before my scalp was much worse. So it's definitely an improvement. But I think in this whole process of, delving into hair loss and getting a hair transplant, it definitely skews and screws with your mind in terms of what you think is natural and what you think isn't. Because I remember there was a time when I used to wear my hair topper, for example, I would want my own hair to look like the hair topper and to look as dense as a hair topper or a wig, when in reality that was never my natural hair anyway, even in its best state. And in reality, people's hair doesn't look like a wig and doesn't look as full as a hair topper. So actually I've had to step away from that, get used to my natural hair, and actually come to terms with the fact that natural hair looks natural. It doesn't look full everywhere and so densely full in all areas. So that's been a bit of a learning curve for me. I was on holiday. I was doing lots of water activities prior to getting the procedures done. So what I did is I scheduled the procedure on the very last day of my holiday, effectively, so that I would not have to wash my hair or get in water or get in the swimming pool or get in the sea after this point. And then I had to make sure that I didn't wash my hair, so I got the procedure done on a Wednesday, and I was attending a wedding on the Saturday, and I washed my hair on the Saturday morning, and I got my procedure done Wednesday night, and it was completely safe for me to wash my hair after, I would say, the 3 days of not washing my hair. And that was it in terms of aftercare. There was really nothing more to it. I just needed to make sure it was not going to get wet for 3 days. And then after that, I carried on as normal. Was it worth traveling abroad to get the procedure done? I would say yes, because I got my hair transplant done in Turkey, in Istanbul, and my SMP was done by Ozlem Ozdemir. It's a place called Beauty Home in Antalya, sea-facing view, lovely people. We had a blast whilst we were there. I had a really good time learning more Turkish, colours in Turkish in particular, from the kids. I think I had a really good time because I bonded with them so well. We even stayed after the procedure, hung out with some of them, and we just had a really good time. So it was definitely worth it from the point of view of networking, socializing, and just how lovely they were. But also Antalya is such a beautiful place. We went at the best weather time, did scuba diving, and there's so many cool things to do in Antalya: zip lining, river rafting, all these exciting things. I mean, Turkey itself has just amazing nature and amazing views. From that point of view, I would say absolutely worth it to go there for holiday and then get 2 in 1 done. Any tips? So my biggest tip would probably be that come to terms with the idea of natural and have an expectation of a natural appearance rather than a wig or a topper appearance. And actually, it's that mindset change that makes the biggest difference in terms of accepting your new hair, whether that is post-transplant or post-SMP. Now, it did say on Google that some people need 2 to 4 procedures. I personally am considering, should I get another touch-up done, perhaps towards the back, and that was only because someone took a picture of me from the top, from the back, that I noticed it. Honestly, would I notice it normally? Would I care for it normally? I don't get to see it. Other people might, but most people are not bothered about those things anyway. So I would say no. I'm going to attach a picture of what my scalp looks like from the back, and you can be the judge of it. Do you think this looks natural versus unnatural? I think it looks fairly natural. I think I just have a really critical eye just because this is all I've been doing for the past few months to years. That is basically my review of an SMP procedure. I want to thank Beauty Home and Ozlem Ozdemir of Antalya for this procedure, and the entire family also for how they treated me. Thank you guys. Make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe to this video, and yeah, go check out my socials also.